Commission meeting. For the purpose of the hearing is to consider a request for special land use for the property located at vacant parcel 30-002-31-356-006 Powell Road in Romeo, Michigan. And then following that, we'll have our regular meeting. So this is your opportunity to make comment on special land use, whether we grant it or not, to that parcel. Does anybody have anything?
We need to officially open the public meeting at
Do we
7:01.
need to?
Yes,
It's-
yes.
You mean
So make a
pledge
motion.
allegiance and all of that? Oh,
No. You open the public meeting at 7:01.
okay, all right, so,
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
gee, did I miss that before? Okay, all right, so we're open. So anybody have any
We're all in
comments?
favor? Roll
All
call.
in favor?
No, we do that during regular meeting.
We're opening the special
We're
meeting.
opening the special
We
land.
have a motion and a second. It's either a roll or all in favor.
All in favor.
Okay, roll call, sorry. I'm
You want a
not
roll call?
Okay, we're gonna,
Quite here, so,
it's all good.
Okay, Fowler,
Yes.
Grandstaff,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Minton,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Justin Parker,
Yes.
Jim Stegner,
here,
Carl Webb,
Here.
and I am a yes. Did I get everybody? Got everybody.
everybody, okay, everybody's here. All right, so,
Hey,
Now.
I didn't get you.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right. Anybody have any comments on this? Special land use.
I'm Chester Zalesky, one requesting this. We have my attorney Bob Lynn, Mike O'Hara, and Bob Lynn, the engineers. If you have any questions, we're here to answer anything.
Is that it? Okay, at this time, we'll open the regular meeting for
Close.
closed public comment. Sorry, guys, entirely.
Your motion?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Second,
Thank
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, now, our regular meeting. We begin our regular meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll stand for that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now, roll call again.
Mr. Grandstaff.
Are you here?
Are you here?
I'm here.
Okay. Hale,
Here.
Minton,
Here.
Bill Parker,
Yes.
Justin Parker,
Present.
Janice Fowler,
Here.
Carl Webb,
Here.
Jim Stegner,
Here. All right, now
and I am here.
we move on to approval of the agenda. You
I'll
make-
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of the meetings from February 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is to approve the minutes from February 1st. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Yes, I'll
unanimous.
stand.
Now, our usual public forum, anybody have anything they'd like to comment on any subject? Go ahead.
Please.
Yeah, please, and just say your name and then,
My name's Corey Jankowski, 340 East Washington Street. My lot borders the 153 Spring Street. My question is do we ever figure out who owns the alleyway?
I have no answer to that.
The village does.
Villagers?
Yes.
Okay. My next one is, where are the dumpsters gonna be located? there gonna be any dumpsters?
The individual trash containers.
Just be trash carts?
Residential.
Trash carts?
So is the,
Yeah, just trash.
so right now, there's a dumpster there, so if that's all paved for the parking, where's that, is that dumpster gonna be in the middle of the lot where it's currently at, or is it, do we know if that's gonna be moved, or?
We don't have that information.
Those are questions we'll have to discuss.
That dumpster for the other.
The other-
buildings over there? Okay,
The other townhomes that are there?
yeah.
Is it sitting on your lot now? Do you know if that, do you know the answer to
No,
that?
it's in the alley.
Oh, it's in the alleyway?
It's like where the strip of alley is, it's like on the other side of it.
Yeah, it's right where it ends there. That's something
Okay.
I was gonna ask.
I mean, that'd be a village question, because it's kind of sitting where it shouldn't be.
Okay.
I looked at the other day, it is sitting where it shouldn't be.
So I'm also concerned with the way that, you know, if it's, the way it's gonna be paved, now that those vehicles that whenever they back up, they're gonna be really close to my fence and my yard. So I'm also concerned that the way that, you know, the parking is, it's gonna be, you know, somebody might back up into my fence or, you know, cause damage to my fence and my property.
How wide is that, the alley, is it just 20 feet?
Yeah,
I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves for public comment.
Yeah.
okay.
If we're gonna dive into the plan.
Well, we're gonna-
We'll get into that when it comes up on the agenda.
Okay.
But I'm not trying to
Oh, no, you're good.
not take your comments, but we're getting a little deep, I think.
Okay,
Public comment right now.
all right.
Anybody else? No. Okay, let's move on to unfinished business. We'll start with off-street parking update. Ms. LeVar.
At the February meeting, we reviewed some draft changes to residential parking. Under item number 1, permitted parking area, the second paragraph, it says, "No motor vehicle shall be kept or stored in any residential district unless it shall be in operating condition and properly licensed or located inside a building." And then the language changes are outdoor storage of motor vehicles or recreational vehicles is allowed behind the principal building or in a driveway parked at least 3 feet from the nearest public right-of-way. And right-of-way meaning if you have a sidewalk, then it's 3 feet from the sidewalk. If you don't have a sidewalk and it's just the street, then it's 3 feet away from the street at a minimum.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to bring up some concerns regarding 3 feet from the sidewalk. There is currently a house going up around the corner from me that meets the 25-foot setback from the sidewalk, but the sidewalk is not the normal width sidewalk. If whoever purchases that house has a pickup truck, it's not going to be 3 feet from the sidewalk. There's no way they can do it. You are automatically going to put them in violation of this ordinance. I drove around, I took 1, 2, 3, I took 20 pictures of parcels that cannot meet this ordinance with vehicles. There's no way.
Can you explain, like, how can they not meet a 3 feet from the sidewalk?
If this new house that's going up, it's 25 feet from the sidewalk. Like I said, that current sidewalk that's there is not the normal right-of-way width,
Okay.
okay? If this guy has a truck that's a cab and a half, you know, 4-door, which is very common, a Suburban, it's not going, and he's not going to be 3 feet from the sidewalk. There's no way he can be.
If the house is 25 foot from the sidewalk.
Right, but if you
The
look,
truck's over
the truck is,
25 foot long?
the truck is 20 feet. If you look at if you look at the length of a like, we have a cab and a half truck.
Yeah, what's the length?
The length on a 4-door cab with an 8-foot bed is 20.5 feet. all right? If you put a winch on it, if you put a trailer hitch on it, you can't be 3 feet. There's no way.
So you're saying the driveway stops at the front of the house?
The drive, here, I'll show you this picture.
I mean, I'll give an
No,
example.
I'm just questioning, I don't need to see, I'm just
You gonna give me an example?
understanding.
Okay, you got
Wash-
an example?
Washington Street. There's those, so Washington Street between Rawls and Fremont. There's the brick ranch, brick bungalow on the south side. That house has 15 feet from the front to the sidewalk. A car touches the sidewalk. They don't park over it, they touch it. They would no longer be allowed to park in front of their house. Because it says motor vehicles, it's no longer about storing campers.
I see what, I see what you're saying now, yeah.
What do we do about existing?
I guess if it's existing, right, isn't that kinda,
I mean, I can't do that at my own house with a truck.
cause you're,
I can't do that.
where your parking is, yeah.
Right. There's and on Denby, where like Mr. Winter's old house, yes, they could have, but the house on the corner, they couldn't. There's no way they could meet it.
Yeah, Yatros.
Yeah, the Atroses couldn't meet it. There's no way they could meet it. There's a lot of houses that if you have 3 or 4 cars, 3 or 4 people living in your house that drive cars, you're not gonna be able to meet it because the driveways are too short.
No, I guess, I mean, this
But are we
brings into
saying
question a lot of things
storing or
besides just this parking. It also brings into the, you can't park on the street overnight.
Right,
The house I had on Sisson, same thing.
Right,
Two trucks
exactly.
deep in the driveway, or right over the sidewalk.
right,
If my kid starts driving, gets a vehicle, there's nowhere for her to park, so she's parking on the street or
Right.
parking somewhere else.
right.
So I guess part of it, like I was told, well, you knew what you were buying, all right? You knew where you're at, you know, if you know the ordinances, you know the ordinances.
but
I'm
if
just
the
playing devil's
ordinance-
advocate here, do I agree? No, but
So, it's just one more, sorry.
Go ahead.
So this applies only to storage though, correct?
So storage is basically being kept outside without moving for more than 24 hours.
So if
For
it's a
more.
driveway, you could theoretically say, hey, it's my everyday vehicle, it's moving.
unless you're parking on the weekend and,
Storage
Wow.
is,
hey, it's a
did
day.
you say 24 hours?
I think it's, I'll
It is.
look up the
My truck
definition
don't
again.
move
I
for a
think
day.
it's 24 hours or more.
My neighbor has 4 vehicles.
Yeah.
My neighbor has 4 vehicles. Right over here. The area between the curb and the sidewalk has been concrete for at least 50 years. And he parks 2 cars in there. They're always licensed, but they'll sit there for a week or 2, because it's their extra cars. And when he puts they have 2 trucks. When he puts those trucks in his driveway, he's rubbing the sidewalk. Now, that's been that way since before most of you were born. But you're not gonna change it, and the same with the houses on Washington Street, they've been that way since 1900.
Right.
Some of them, I know you can't get in the backyard, they have to park in the front yard.
Right.
Because, and then I think those were variances that they finally allowed them to park in the front yard because there was no way to reach the backyard. You've got the same thing on East Washington Street too.
So the definition of outdoor storage means the keeping in an unroofed area any goods, junk, material, merchandise, or vehicles in the same place for more than 24 hours. So that's what outdoor storage is.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
If we could go back, what was the main purpose for looking at and revising this again?
Campers.
Did this have to do with campers?
The
not
main
homes?
purpose was for recreational vehicles.
Yes, not motor vehicles.
So does this require paving in the backyard? If you're gonna store stuff
Can't do
back
that
there?
until it's-
It does, it says for permitted parking area, such parking spaces, or such parking space shall be paved to provide not less than 2 off-street parking spaces. Parking or storage of vehicles shall be restricted to paved areas.
Exactly.
Because they're talking about storing.
So this is just me, if our concern is recreational vehicles, can we, after outdoor storage of, in that second sentence, can we just cross out motor vehicles or? and have that sidewalk portion apply only to recreational vehicles. Are, so then is, we have to change to are, allowed behind the principal building or in a driveway parked at least 3 feet from the public right of way. Let's how way we don't make it about cars. That alleviates the entire car.
If they're not blocking the sidewalk, why can't they be there?
Right,
Period. I don't care
Okay.
about the 3 feet.
so just don't block the sidewalk.
Pardon? You
just
just
don't
don't
block
wanna
the
block the sidewalk.
Unless they're blocking the view then, because some don't have sidewalks, right? There's no sidewalks right up against the road, so now we're saying right of way. And if they're not 3 foot back from the street and they're close to a corner, then someone can't see pulling up to a stop sign, and it creates a hazard.
The house right over here, Justin. Right on
I'm
the
just
corner
saying,
of Morton
that's why the 3 foot's there.
And Morton and Minot, they have a Morton recreational vehicle that sits there, you know, off and on all summer.
Mhm.
It's close to the sidewalk, but so what? They've been doing that for as long as they've been there. Are we gonna, is this limited to going forward? Is that what we're saying?
No. No.
And you can't, can they make a case that they're grandfathered in? They've been doing this since they moved in there?
No,
You know,
that's not how this stuff works.
If you're gonna require any paving, that gets kind of expensive, doesn't it?
what was that? I'm sorry, just,
If you're gonna require paving anywhere, that gets expensive.
didn't we discuss that last month?
Yeah,
And
it
we
can be-
discussed what that was, and I think like gravel or asphalt or
Well, it
cement,
calls
but
out,
I think we looked it up,
it
and
calls out what's permissible, and
yeah.
that's paving or paving bricks. And I think in that, I mean, you're gonna drive some people to, no pun intended, but some people will opt not to pave anything and jam as much as they can onto their existing driveway. So, you know, if you don't wanna look at RVs, I mean, this is,
Why are we looking at this?
Hmm?
Why are we looking at this problem? Who brought it up?
There was an issue arised, if I remember correctly, I think from the village office with regards to recreational vehicles and how they were parked. Correct?
Correct.
how they were parked. Was there somebody perceived offense to parking in the driveway or whatever?
I think,
I think the way it was worded, there was nothing really enforceable one way or the other.
there was nothing enforceable, and I guess I believe the consensus was what, it seems like a common offense, so they're trying to figure out, can we make the ordinance better so it is maybe not such a common, you're not violating the ordinance so much anymore?
What do we need to do? Make a motion to,
It's fine.
I don't see how useful this is myself, but maybe I'm missing something.
It's fine.
if somebody makes a motion to pass this on to the village council and there's no second, then this thing dies, doesn't it?
We tried that.
I'd
Yeah,
make a
but the way it's
motion-
written, like Lisa pointed out, with the changes, it doesn't make sense. It can't happen, right? If it stays how it is, we've done nothing, and there's still the perceived issue.
If
So-
it's, if I, sorry, excuse me, if it stays how it is more restrictive. Because if it stays how it is, the language would be no storage of motor vehicles or recreational vehicles may be within a required front yard. This new language at least allows that. Or established building line, whichever is more restrictive, or the required side or required rear yard. So I'd say the improvements what we're trying to do is give people more leeway on where they can park these vehicles. So if we don't do anything, we're back to square one, and at the very least, you can't even put it, you know, behind, it can't encroach on, behind your building, you know, or beyond your building line. It has to be completely in the backyard.
Yeah.
So at least we're trying to give people the ability to have long-term storage in their driveway.
Bill, how do you feel about at least 3 feet from the right-of-way and not blocking the sidewalk? Rather
You gotta
than
have to
have
say
those-
3 feet from the
From the
road
road?
right away,
Right,
not
the
the
road.
right of way, because the right of way
Well-
can include the sidewalk.
And
The
it also,
right-of-way is-
majority of the time, doesn't include the sidewalk.
Normally, the right-of-way in most of the platted lots in this town, the lot line is inside the sidewalk. I don't know of any circumstance where it's,
I know of a lot of them,
well, okay, I don't.
but I
mean, I'm
stare at
just-
maps all the time.
Okay, but it's,
I have one for sidewalks like that. Runs
Yeah.
right to the curb.
So if we want to talk about the curb, do you want to refer to the curb so that we're not blocking traffic view? Is that what we're trying to do?
Be in compliance with corner clearance regulations.
We're just trying, we're not trying to block sidelines, and I'm not a fan of people parking over sidewalks at all. But if you don't restrict the sidewalk, realistically, I don't care.
I'm not with the popular here. I don't like seeing them. That's me.
I-
I don't like seeing them in the front yards at all.
You don't like seeing them in the front
No,
yards?
but
But,
that's me.
but no one, a lot of people can't get it in their backyard, and that is the problem.
So, gonna buy an RV and live in the village and pay for off-site storage. It's just my mindset on it. But
That's like subdivision, homeowners association, right? The village is
That is what we're trying to do, yeah.
right, that's what,
I'm-
I guess that's,
that one I'm not,
I say you
I'm
can't.
not popular on. It is what it is.
All right, what's your comment?
I was just saying that it's that, I feel like if you're in a subdivision where you have a homeowners association where it says, no, you know, that, yeah, then I might need outside storage somewhere else, because I know it's part of my association. I've signed on that when I bought the house, but we're a village, we don't have a homeowners association that says I can't. So if I need to park that in my driveway in front of my house, I feel like that shouldn't,
But currently, since this ordinance has been in place, if you've moved into the village, that's how it is. That's what the ordinance says. You can't park in your front yard. That's how it's been since whenever, there's no date on this one. But that's how it is. I mean, and what is a village? A bigger homeowners association than, basically. I'm not the popular person on this one. I don't like them.
I have two neighbors who've been parking their vehicles since they bought the properties. I guess it would be their side yard, because technically their houses face Morton Street. But they've been parking their vehicles in paved parking for
Are they on a corner, Bill?
10, 11 years. Yes, each of them is on a corner.
They're on a
Yeah.
corner,
Both
well,
of
then they
those
have 2 front
houses-
yards.
Pardon?
They have 2 front yards.
Each of them has an unobstructed, weed-filled, grassy area that's, you got a sidewalk across, yep, they're not in the front yard, but they're definitely in the side yard. And the one immediate neighbor, that area has been concrete probably since the house was built in the 1960s or 50s. It's always been, you've got street, concrete parking area, then driveway. And in between that is a 3-foot piece of concrete called sidewalk. So that the parking area is actually probably in the roadway right of way, I don't know. I'm not going out and survey it, because I really don't care.
What do you wanna do?
Okay, the people over here, they've been parking their motorhome there or their recreational vehicle for several years.
Yeah.
And that's- Okay.
all right. Decision here.
I don't see how this can be applied evenly within the village of Romeo. You have so much so many different kinds of architecture. And some people can comply and others can't.
Some people can't even get in their backyard.
Well, that's what I mean, you know, if they wanna get in the backyard, there's no room between, say, the garage or whatever outbuildings they have and the home.
If you even have a garage.
On Washington Street, you can't even put a garage back there because you can't get in your backyard, period.
No,
End
but
of
if you
statement.
decide that, like, I wanted to move the village, but 30 years ago, and then I decide now I wanna buy an RV, and I can't now because I didn't know 30 years ago I should've not bought a house here because I didn't know I could, you know what I'm saying? I
Right,
can't,
we're gonna
you can't
legislate.
foresee that, saying, you can't just tell people, well, decide whether you're gonna live here in the village or not based on whether you're gonna want an RV or park it here or not,
I
or,
guess then,
That's
do we
can't
let
be-
people just pave their whole front yard and park lengthways with the house and just have an RV in front of your house, you know, you can see the house and,
It's a good idea.
I mean, I just,
How do we bring this discussion to an end?
I would agree, but yeah. Like when I lived on Sisson, that house there, I knew, there ain't no way I'm buying a camper or a motorhome, there's nowhere to put it. And if I wanted to, I was gonna have to consider the cost of outside storage somewhere else offsite. That was it. So, bought a different house.
Well, I think we're kinda spinning our wheels,
Yeah.
so what, so we. wanna
Karen, do you
make a-
think you can come up with any other creative ideas that would fit within the village, that would be a little less restrictive than we have, that would meet safety concerns and sight concerns of neighbors when they look out their front door and all they see is a camper next door?
I mean, right now, the only language change I can think of is basically saying,
I'm not saying
You-
you have to come up with it tonight.
right, but I guess if I were going to present anything, I mean, I can look and see what other communities have. They either have language currently that you have, or basically language similar to what is being proposed. If we want to change it, where it basically says you cannot be obstructing the sidewalk, and you can't hinder corner clearance. And you have to be on either some kind of paved area, which also includes brick pavers, or a dust-free durable surface. Would that suffice?
Sounds good to me.
What about
I don't
excluding,
even like dust free, because if you want compact crushed stone, it might have some dust.
That's what it says for what pavement means, and it says, in lieu of asphalt or concrete pavement, brick pavers or similar dust-free durable surface may be permitted.
Well, I guess if you keep it damp, it's
So-
okay.
Yeah, it's good.
what about
Crushed stone works.
excluding personal vehicles, daily use vehicles?
And we could change it to just outdoor storage of recreational vehicles.
What about a?
Then it wouldn't affect the cars can stay there. Everyone's personal vehicle can be there. And then
I mean, is my
you
horse
could
and
almost,
buggy considered?
you could almost leave everything in
Yeah,
there
yeah,
if you
well,
just got rid of the.
Yeah, really, okay. What about a 30-foot boat or an Airstream? How does
It's
that apply?
recreational.
That'd be
It's
recreational.
not a vehicle.
It is a vehicle. It's a
Well, it's
vehicle of the
a
water.
trailer. I think of a vehicle as something that can move in its own right, without being towed or, you know,
I guess, yeah, if you had a plane or something,
yeah, you know, anyway.
yeah.
I mean, if it's an
Makes sense.
eyesore, to have an RV in your driveway.
Well, that's the thing, we didn't put trailers in there like a regular tow-behind trailer could sit there for
Yeah.
months.
The definition of recreational vehicles includes boats and boat trailers, snowmobiles,
All right,
Does it
What about
include
tractors?
landscape trailers, stuff like that?
travel trailer, pickup camper, motorized home, folding tent trailer, boats and snowmobiles.
A commercial landscaping trailer would be considered would be considered commercial and therefore not allowed on residential anyway.
Well, I could have a residential one.
Did you just add
okay,
a trailer?
all right, well, let's move on from this. Are we gonna make a decision on this? You wanna?
A motion to table,
Motion table with revisions?
yes.
Okay, motion before us is to table this proposal, and all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. All right, geez. All right, capital improvement.
Do we have any information on this?
we didn't have anything in our packet, so we
Oh, okay, I don't know if there's anything new.
capital improvement.
For capital improvement, no, when I was last here, I was gonna contact Megan, and then I had a staycation in the hospital, and I never I never contacted her, so.
Sounds just as expensive.
So, a motion to table until Jim has a chance to meet with President Poznanski.
Second?
Mr. Hale seconds, so a motion before us is to table capital improvement discussions. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. New business, special land use site plan review for parcel 30-02-31-365-006 Powell Road. Okay,
So tonight we have a special land use review for a licensed marijuana facility located at the northeast corner of Powell Road and 32 Mile. The proposed development will take place on a site that is 1.25 acres, and the proposed building will be 4,107 square feet with an oriented to have an entrance face Powell Road. The building height is proposed to be 6 feet 4 inches from grade, and the facade will consist of brick veneer, stone veneer, metal panels, and glass. The setbacks proposed for the building meet the requirements of the industrial district. There's going to be 32 parking spaces provided along the north and west perimeters of the site and along the front of the building. Parking spaces are 9 feet wide by 18 feet deep with a maneuvering lane of 26 feet. Parking in the front along the perimeter is 30 feet from the property line. There's also a trash enclosure that will be located on the northeast side of the parking area. The trash enclosure will consist of 3 6-foot-high concrete walls and a steel gate screened with wood boards. The applicant has also provided landscaping plan of trees, shrubs, and grasses. In section 46-393, item number 9 allows licensed marijuana facilities subject to special land use approval, provided that they comply with the following minimum standards. Number 1, the location of any allowable marijuana establishment is restricted to the area of the village zone for industrial. The standard is met. All industrial establishments must be buffered by a distance of at least 750 feet as measured from property line to property line. This is an item that is still being determined by the village clerk. All marijuana establishments must be completely enclosed within a building. The standard is met. Such uses shall be located a minimum of 500 feet from any public or private 12K school as measured door to door from the nearest entrance of the school to the nearest entrance of the marijuana establishment. The standard is met. Compliance with all other provisions of the zoning ordinance, including but not limited to parking, landscaping, signage, setbacks, and nuisance regulations. The proposal meets the district standards and applicable parking standards. Compliance with all provisions of the Village of Romeo licensing and regulating of marijuana business ordinance, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act, and the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act. This will be required to grant a license. In deciding whether to approve or deny the request, the Planning Commission must evaluate each of the above to reference applicable standards. Any motion should expressly detail the reasons for such action. If the Planning Commission does decide to approve the special land use request, all other applicable provisions of the Village of Romeo Code of Ordinances, including but not limited to fire, safety, building, and engineering, must be met. Furthermore, a motion to approve should be conditioned upon the applicant being granted a license by both the Village of Romeo and the state of Michigan.
So your recommendation is if they have the license and everything else is met for special land use, then to go ahead and approve.
Correct.
But there's no license. And I don't know, I don't think we can approve it, on a contingency
We also don't have approval from the village clerk that it meets the setback requirement that I thought we already had.
That's our big problem tonight, is
I was told that we had that 2 months ago.
there's a conflict in the survey results of 40 feet, which is substantial.
We have a survey drawing here if you'd like to see it.
And
Well-
Catherine wouldn't accept the application until, back in November, until we met that, and we have.
My understanding is that we wouldn't have gotten this far in the process had we not met the.
I'm not sure,
Here's
but
what-
if you guys, I'm not trying to be rude, but just so it can be recorded.
Why
so
don't you
everything's-
put that so we can see it? Those of us who are old and can't see anyhow. Glasses.
Do you wanna go ahead, Bob?
Good evening. I'm Bob Lynn with Urban Land Consultants. There was some discussion in the past few days about whether we actually met the requirements of the 750-foot measurements from marijuana facilities in the area, and we prepared a drawing that can,
Could you bring it around? Thank you.
has addressed that problem or concern.
I actually put a call into the clerk yesterday, and spoke with her about that, because that was my question, is I saw that it was still on our paperwork still said she had to determine whether that was,
She would not, when we applied, November, I'll say, don't quote me on the dates, but November, she wouldn't accept our application until she went to the GIS
GIS maps.
GIS maps, and she went to the GIS maps, and that's when she approved, yep, you meet the 750 feet requirements. And this is a certified, stamped,
right?
survey,
No, I'm just saying,
Just
let's
make
not
sure
have
everybody wants
sidebars
to look
here.
at
certified stamped survey
Right.
of the
All
distances.
right, well,
So my understanding with also talking to the clerk is that there is conflicting surveys
okay.
coming back from different people. We've contracted or talked to a third company to come back and finalize that, is
I
the
mean-
information I received.
We got approved in December,
December.
but somebody couldn't count the days. So then we're back and now it changed. I mean, how does this change and how could Catherine, the clerk, not know this for the last 3 months and at least contact us and say, hey, there's an issue?
I'm
mean, it's just-
not arguing with you. I'm just going off the information that was presented to us.
Show it
Here's,
to her.
I mean, Mr. Chair, can I make
Absolutely.
a quick comment here? I don't
It's
understand.
It's right here, clear as- in our packet, right here tonight, it says it hasn't been verified.
When
If everything else is okay, would you consider approving it conditioned on getting final approval from the clerk? So we don't have to come back out again?
Because it would be, by the time you get the survey, let's call it 2 more weeks, and then we have to do another, I mean, we'll be June. I mean, this is ridiculous.
We got approved in December, then there was a problem with how they sent the notice out for the meeting. Then it got pushed to February, and then they did it again, I think, and now we're here in March, so we're like 3 months since we were here before the holidays.
So, yeah,
And it's a
So,
my understanding is
registered
that,
engineer.
all right, if you have something to say, just address the chair first, so we're not all talking over each other. As of a few hours ago, I talked to the clerk, and she said there's a problem of 40 feet, because there are 2 surveys that are in conflict, and she's waiting for a third one. Now, I don't know how much you've talked with her about that. Obviously, it doesn't seem like much, and she was supposed to be here tonight, but obviously she's not here.
Every,
So, go ahead.
every time I've talked to Catherine, she'll give me no information. Catherine, what do I do? If there's any discrepancy, to let you know. I'll get back with you. And I called her, like, I think I was there 3 times, and it's, the more you come here, you're only slowing the process down. She will not address me, and I've asked, and now it's been literally all of January, all of February, and then the day before, we've got, I know nothing about this other, engineering firm, I have no idea who they are, she gives me no information. But I don't think it's fair as a taxpayer, you know, I was the one that brought all this property into the village, Romeo, a taxpayer, for a technicality. I mean, you could approve it, and then if this is not right, I don't know what the correct word would be, Mike,
Yeah, I mean, what we'd be requesting is an approval, and since all the other conditions are met, approval conditioned on, you know, getting final approval for the measurement. And then obviously, if there's an issue, we can cross that bridge when we
My
get to it.
question to the other people who sit up here is this: if we approve this site plan, or special land use
Yeah, not site plan.
tonight, would we be accidentally or, innocently approving the violation of the distance requirement?
Well-
Or
But it was
not?
contingent on
Yes.
approval
Go
of
ahead,
that. It
Mr.
would-
Hale.
Mr. Chair, so my question is, if the village, I mean, I don't wanna say this very distastefully, if the village clerk is using the county GIS to do this, that is a graphic representation of an image. That is all that is. That,
It's a
if
survey.
I'm taking it correctly, is a stamped set of scale drawings.
Correct.
Which one of those two things is accurate? Not GIS.
Okay.
So I don't know who commissioned the other survey to be done. Is it the village?
My understanding,
I don't know.
Does the village
Andrew, my
commission?
understanding from Catherine is that it was two other, and I'll pull up her information here, two other survey companies.
I mean, usually an error in surveying is a foot. 40 feet is a road.
Yeah.
That's not an error, and it's, I don't understand, like,
Engineered surveys. that's-
so whoever stamped that, if they're up by 40 feet, is
Some number
risking their
was
license.
transposed by
I
somebody.
mean, the one measurement they have was 760 something.
762.
760,
Yeah, so that's 12 feet.
12 feet's a lot.
That's huge.
That's huge in
You
surveying.
don't make that kind of mistake in a survey.
No, it's a foot, I mean,
Not-
usually an error, an auto close
These are,
in a
these are
survey
all
is a
platted
foot.
subs for Pete's sake.
But I think part of this process
They've been
is
surveyed to their,
the village has to obtain this information. My understanding from the
So our-
ordinance for the marijuana.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm kinda going back and forth here.
they've supplied
Well,
a
like-
survey,
I understand.
period.
I think the village has to obtain that.
Can I ask Justin one more
The
question?
village is gonna go out and spend a couple $1,000 to survey to see that they're
Mr.
wrong.
Parker,
That's nonsense, Justin.
Mr. Parker, please address the chair. We're getting a lot of crosstalk here. Yes, all right, well, Mr. Hale has a question.
Well, I have one more question for Mr. Justin Parker. Were you on the board when they passed the marijuana laws, the marijuana ordinance rules?
The ordinance I was, yes,
Is the determination solely to the clerk of the distances?
it is.
All right, that's my only I mean, right, so so we can have a professional tell us that it's far enough away, and then we're gonna, all right.
But the clerk.
My question's answered, thank you.
If I may respectfully, we submitted this application like November. So now we're here again after we were approved in December and then on a notice technicality, got pushed to February and pushed to March. Not one time did this ever come up until now. So they've had almost 6 months to look at this. And now when we're coming up for our second approval, after we were approved in December, now they're saying, wait, there might be an issue with the measurement, even though we have a licensed survey or a stamped survey showing that it's beyond 750
And
feet.
she wouldn't accept the application until she said it was correct.
Almost as if someone doesn't want this location approved.
Mr.
That's how
Chairman.
long it's taken.
Mr. Chair, real quick,
Yes.
clarify if, and I could be wrong, when we came back January, February, when this was, January, we decided December's meeting needed to be redone. February's meeting, we were informed that the applicant withdrew to be on February's meeting.
Absolutely not.
That-
Absolutely not.
That's,
Mr. Chair, if I may speak,
Go ahead.
the reason for in January, we had to meet the public notice, days. So the soonest meeting that they could come back, I believe, would have been March. I believe that
So
determination.
it wasn't the applicant, it was
No,
because of
it was-
the notice
we had to
required.
make it- We had to
Okay.
reissue the public notice, and so, or the, I'm just gonna say, I'm sorry, the village had to reissue the public notice. The notice had to be out for X amount of days.
Okay, so that put us past February.
that's it.
And if I could also, you did also have a conversation with Catherine, our clerk, in regards to the 750 feet, correct?
I found out about that, after I submitted the review for this meeting, that that was happening.
Okay.
I
So,
submitted
yeah,
my review,
I don't have-
my
I don't have
review 2
words,
weeks, but this
because-
notice was 2 weeks prior to the meeting.
2 weeks before today. So she knew about it 2 weeks before today?
Yeah,
Catherine?
no.
Okay,
Wait,
I don't know.
that's, yeah, the sidebars, I'm
Alright.
sorry, but, yeah.
So to be clear, we have a licensed survey that says they're in compliance. So,
Well, we-
at that point, I think the surveyors, it's their risk if this turns out to be incorrect.
I mean, speaking directly to me with that, however, the ordinance as passed by the village says it's up to the clerk. That doesn't matter.
All right, well, she has to make the decision.
She's the sole decider if it's far enough away. That's how the ordinance is written.
Well, I was not at December's meeting. I also had the information at December's meeting that we were still questioning the 750 feet
Well, Mr.
as a
Chair,
village.
Yes,
in December, memory serves me correctly, we were told this would not have been in front of us if it wouldn't have been approved already.
That's correct, you were there. I was
Yeah,
there.
that's,
I mean, I have a very good memory for things like that, and I asked the question numerous times, who approves that? And I was told it would not have been sitting on the table had that not been checked.
and I don't mean to interrupt, but to piggyback on that, why would we get, if it didn't meet the distance requirement, why get to this point?
You wouldn't spend all that money.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not,
They
it's
could
not
tell us
cheap.
that the first day and say, hey, you're buffered out, have a nice day, and we pack our bags and move on. We're 6 months into this process, and we have a licensed surveyor saying it's well within the 750 feet. And now, at the 11th hour, you're saying, well, we have to check with the clerk? I mean, why would we get to the point where we're even in front of you if it was buffered out and it wouldn't be qualified as a eligible property?
Mr. Chair, if I could through you,
Yes.
maybe to Andrew. This was all provided in December, and maybe this is for Karen also. At that time, when it listed all the requirements, it said the 750 foot was met in December, but now it doesn't.
No, it said same thing. I just looked back at my December packet. It said
December packet says the same thing, that it was not
that
met.
standard will be determined by the village clerk.
But I
So-
said, has that been approved? And it was said, it would not be in front of us if it wasn't.
By,
who said that?
I can't remember specifically,
Oh,
I think it was
okay.
Cindy.
This is, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
this is nonsense. The village clerk has had 5 months. November, December, January, February, and we're, okay, 4 months and change. And to say that this hasn't been met. They've spent the money to get a surveyor to answer that basic question. There is no question, but that is a certified survey. It's inconceivable, since all of this property is platted subdivisions, that those numbers aren't correct. I'm sure Mr. Hale would agree, that you just can't plat a subdivision in this day and age, and those are relatively new, without absolutely tying that thing down to, let's just call it an
I'd
inch.
amend the ordinance.
Pardon?
I'd amend the ordinance. So that is what counts.
I think that counts.
That doesn't sadly, but it should.
I mean, she can sit here for another 6 months. That's nonsense. Literally, this should not be here tonight if she hasn't approved it.
I'd like to make a motion if I'm permitted to do so.
what's your motion?
Well, I would make a motion contingent upon the clerk's approval of the distance measurement that this be approved. Because there's no way around it. It's the ordinance.
Before anybody seconds, Ms. LeVar,
well, no, Jim, I'm sorry, there's a motion. It needs a second before any further discussion.
You can kill it, that's fine.
And it has to be conditional upon all this other stuff too that they want, that they get the license from this village.
Well, that's Ms. Graham said, that there's a heap of
Do you wanna amend it, Andrew?
So, I mean, there's a lot of it. So there's a standard that they have to receive a license. They have to receive the village clerk's approval that they meet the setback. They have to meet all other district standards and applicable parking standards. I think those are the three. Did I miss one?
It's the license from the village and from the state.
Right, yeah, they receive licensing from the village and the state. So my motion would be that this is the approval of this is contingent upon licensing received from the village and the state, approval of the clerk, approval from the clerk stating that they meet the 750-foot setback from all other marijuana dispensary businesses as deemed per property line, and that they receive, sorry, what's the third one, and the parking, and that they have to meet the proposal meets the district standards and applicable parking standards.
I'll second.
That's very wordy. I don't know.
Can
Well,
I,
it's-
can I add
You
one
know.
thing?
Start over.
As per the drawing that was presented and will be given to the clerk to provide her the information she needs, that goes with it.
Is that, okay, well, he can amend it, but I don't think you can, and we have a second. So if anybody can remember exactly what Mr. Hale.
Can I still make one more comment before you, or is it,
Oh,
sorry.
well,
Motion and second, then we can comment still, yes.
yeah, so, all right, so the motion is before us, from Mr. Hale, that we approve well, we can't just approve it, we
To do the list.
Contingent.
contingent on, all the things that he listed, which are written down by Ms. Hall.
Ms. Hall, is she gonna read this thing so we all know what we're voting on?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta have Mr. Hale give me the last part of it again.
Oh, man, what
I've got a motion by Hale to approve contingent upon receiving licensing from the village and the state, receiving approval from the clerk that they meet the 750 feet distance requirement, and then the last part of it I didn't get.
That they
Parking.
make sure they meet the proposal, that the district standards and applicable parking standards, is I believe what the other one that we're missing was.
This
Well,
is
that's
a-
in there.
This is a special land use, so we have to review the standards as well. We can't just vote on it.
Yeah, which is,
You gotta read all those things off.
So if you want
it
to
doesn't
amend
meet
that,
the standards.
so this is contingent.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I add, any of the contingencies that you're putting on it should be for possibly pending items such as the setbacks, the granting of a license for the state, and the village, I'm sorry, village license, granting from the state license, as well as the determining about the 700 feet. They do meet parking standards, and they do meet the district standards,
Okay,
so.
so you're speaking setbacks, licensing, and the buffer.
Anything, those would be the contingencies.
And this is just special land use, correct? So anything applicable to parking or anything with the actual
Site.
site would be approved with a site plan approval, is that correct?
Well, for special land use, so if they get approved for special land use and they meet the setback requirements, and they get the village license and they get the state license, the special land use and site plan are together as one. So when you approve a special land use, they're not gonna come back for another site plan unless they amend it for whatever reason. So special land use and site plan are simultaneous. If it's called special land use, it's basically site plan with extra conditions, basically.
So we're approving the structure
You're approving
and
the
the building and
structure.
everything
Everything.
Yeah,
that I got tonight?
yep, where the setbacks are, where the landscape is gonna be,
Oh,
where the parking lot is, that's what
Where is
happens
it?
at special
oh,
land.
that's yours.
I got the building in December. Building came in
December
December.
package.
Which didn't happen.
So do we have all of the contingencies written down in our motion before we move on to the
Well,
Do you wanna read that first?
review standards?
Yeah, read that standard.
Our review standards?
Yeah.
It should have been in our packet.
All right, for special land use has to meet certain review standards, which are, there are 8 of them, and we will vote on each one of them. Beginning with number 1, the proposed special land use shall be of such location, size, and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the surrounding neighborhood and/or vicinity and applicable regulations of zoning district in which it is to be located. All agree with that? Or can we have a show of hands? Yes? We vote on these one at a time.
Do you want eyes or show of hands?
Aye, just show of hands, ayes, all in favor.
All right.
So,
Justin?
Mr. Parker, you're
I
dissenting?
don't have a site plan or anything in front of me to review, so I can't vote on this.
Okay. Would you, where's the site? Did
We
we
got it
give
in
him a
December.
site plan, or
I get my prints from December, they were in that December packet.
you wanna look at this real quick?
I'm not gonna review the whole thing tonight.
All right,
No, it's not gonna happen.
all right.
And it's not that I oppose, I just, if it's not done
All right,
properly,
so-
I can't go on.
All right, so that number 1 passes. The proposed use shall be of a nature that will make vehicular and pedestrian traffic no more hazardous than is normal for the district involved, taking into consideration vehicular turning movements in relations to routes of traffic flow, proximity, and relationship to intersections, adequacy of site distances, location and access of off-street parking, and provisions for pedestrian traffic with particular attention to minimizing child-vehicle interfacing. All agree, or?
Aye.
Aye, okay. I gotta do that a different way. Okay, number 3, proposed use shall be designed as to location, size, intensity, site layout, and periods of operation of any such proposed use to eliminate any possible nuisance emanating therefrom which might be noxious to the occupants of any other nearby permitted uses, whether by reason of dust, noise, fumes, vibration, smoke, or lights. Do we agree that it meets that standard? Show of
Aye.
hands, Flo?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Number 4, the proposed use shall be of such that the proposed location and height of buildings or structures and location, nature of, and the height of walls, fences, and landscaping will not interfere with or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings or unreasonably affect their value. Any dissents from that? Everybody agree with that?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Number 5, the proposed use shall relate harmoniously with physical and economic aspects of adjacent land uses as regards prevailing shopping habits, convenience of access by prospective patrons, continuity of development, and need for particular services and facilities in specific areas of the village. Does everybody agree that it meets that standard?
Aye.
Okay. Where are we? So, the proposed use is necessary for the public convenience at the proposed location. That's always so weird to me, but, I agree, okay, no dissent there. 7, the proposed use is so designed, located, planned, and to be operated that public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. All in favor, all agree with that?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, okay. Last one, yes. Last one, the proposed use shall not be detrimental or injurious to the neighborhood within which it is to be located, nor shall such a use operate as a detriment to future land uses permitted within the said zoning district, and shall be in harmony with general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. Does it meet that standard? Show of hands, aye. Okay, so, special land use standards are met. So I guess we passed that, right?
Andrews made a motion.
Can I read the motion again?
Yes.
Please.
I motion to approve the special land use contingent upon setbacks and state licensure and village licensure and approval from the 750 foot buffer by the village clerk.
I'll second.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Webb, I
Much
believe.
briefer.
Pardon?
I made it much briefer. Sorry.
Discussion?
All right, so before us is Mr. Hale's motion. All in favor?
Well, that's gonna be a roll call,
You
for
want
sure.
to do roll call? I thought
If I
about it,
could
but
question one thing, is I do not have the site plan. Number 3 talks about nuisances for light, odor, smell, all that stuff. In the site plan, was there stuff for the odor and filters and
Yeah.
Part of state
there was-
licensure.
Yes,
it was in there?
Yeah, it's part of the state licensures as well.
there was
Okay.
something in there.
okay, we have a motion before us to approve this special land use with contingencies listed by Mr. Hale, seconded by Mr. Webb. We'll do a roll call.
Do we
Mr.
wanna have
Hale.
her read it
Aye.
first?
Mr. Webb,
All right.
Bill Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Minton,
Yes.
Janice Fowler,
Yes.
Bill Grandstaff,
Yes,
Justin Parker,
I'll abstain, based on elected officials shouldn't have anything to do with these licenses.
and I am a yes. Mr. Stegner,
Yes.
the motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Randy.
you. Do you want us to leave
Do
this
you
here?
want this board here? We'll make, we can
I'd
give
take
you
it to
more
the village.
copies, but. I didn't-
No, it's, you can take it.
You know,
Okay.
Jim, that should probably go to,
That shouldn't go to,
Catherine.
what's her name, or our clerk?
yeah, just
Just
so.
give me the board, or you have it in a file, you can just email it.
You can email
I
it.
mean,
And
It's up to you.
given the fact that it's now taken her going on 5 months to, I think you might want to get it hand delivered and get a receipt.
Good idea.
Good.
stamp.
I mean,
Thank you.
just-
Okay.
That's a good
That's
thought.
crossing your Ts and
Thanks for
dotting
coming,
your
gentlemen.
Is. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.
take care, guys.
All right, new business, site plan, review for 153 Spring Street. Ms. LeVar, once again.
Is this
Um,
new?
So this site plan was tabled last month to verify that proper ZBA procedure took place. It was verified that that did occur, so we're bringing it back again to make a determination on. This is for a 4-unit multiple-family building located at 153 Spring Street. The applicant meets the village code meets the village code by 2 variances that were granted, one for setbacks and one for building size on the lot. At the last meeting, there was some discussion about possibly making some aesthetic changes to the site, and the applicant has made some aesthetic changes while still working within that parameter that they were granted from the ZBA. So I do continue to recommend approval for the site plan. They also were able to provide us a lighting plan that meets the standards of the ordinance as well, to ensure that any lighting provided on the building does not encroach onto neighboring properties.
We granted a variance on this?
He needed a variance for multiple family properties, your front yard has to be 25 feet, and then you need 40 feet on all other setbacks.
Right.
And this property wasn't going to meet that. And so he was able to obtain variances for the west setback and the south setback
From the ZBA?
from the ZBA,
Okay.
from the in January.
The zoning board of appeals has given him variances.
I just have one.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't.
So ZBA granted the variance?
Correct.
gentleman earlier want to speak about this. Was there anything further?
Just what I addressed before.
Have your concerns been met?
My only concern, like I said, was, you know, the way the current other lots are, the way it would connect.
Step up again, I'm sorry. Thank you.
The way it would connect to the other lot, there's, you know, a short distance between, you know, where the vehicles would have to park and then backing up to make that turn to be able to go back towards the main street. That, and there's a dumpster that belongs to the other townhomes that would be next to this property. And where's the dumpster gonna be in relation to, is it just gonna be in the middle of the lot where it's at now? Or are they gonna put it on the other side? Cause I sure as heck don't want that right there, cause it already stinks in the summertime.
Well, they can't put it in the village street. They can't put it in, or in the alley. They can't put it on your property. So they'll have to come up with another solution for the dumpster that they placed on his property,
Where it's currently sitting.
where it's currently. I know the dumpster you're talking about. That was a question I had for him, but.
Okay,
So it's not his.
It's not, but if it's not your dumpster, then whoever's dumpster it is will have to be removed off, and they're not gonna be able to put it on your fence line, because then it would encroach onto the village alley, and they can't, they'd have to come see us to get it right, correct?
Is it dumpsters, Karen, dumpsters, is it just the industrial, commercial, where they have to be in the rear? Or is that also the residential dumpsters?
I can check that. Normally, those dumpster requirements are, I can check. I mean, if it's in the rear, if it's currently in the alley, it's encroaching in the right of way, therefore it's off that property.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on, but it sounds like it's probably in a place that it should be in the first place.
Correct.
So that's a code issue that would have to be addressed.
Yeah, that's a separate issue from approving this.
Because the other dumpsters for the other ones are in their parking lot area as you drive down.
yeah,
that
there's a
street.
smaller one on the opposite end.
Yeah.
Is the property owner here?
Of, not the dumpster. The
The
dumpster's.
applicant.
The applicant is here.
Okay, the applicant. Could you answer any of the gentleman's questions or concerns?
It's not your dumpster, right?
It's not my dumpster, no, but it's on my property.
Yeah.
So
So,
whoever owns the dumpster is gonna probably locate it.
yeah, if he doesn't, that would become a civil matter between him and the neighboring property.
Well, it becomes a code matter.
Or maybe all his tenants came to get their own
Trash cans.
garbage.
Receptacles, yeah.
So your main concern is the dumpster?
The dumpster and the distance between, you know, when the cars are backing up, I'm concerned that they, you know, if they're not paying attention, you know, they're gonna come up that, you know, little 4 or 5 foot section of grass I have and then hit the fence.
You're off the alley.
Yes,
Yeah, the back.
yeah, his lot's on the south side of the alley part, I'm on the north side.
Yeah, and I mean, the alley is 20 feet wide. It's like any other street.
It's like wide enough for like a car to drive, that's about how wide it is.
But it is like every other street, and unfortunately, people turn around, they can
You
hit.
know RVs parking.
Yeah.
Chair, I have a question. I am wondering about the alley, as far as if it's village alley, is that something you've talked to the village about? Clearing it, cause we drove down there again the other day to look at the site again. And I see where the dumpster is, and then that alley's not, you know, it's all overgrown over there. Is that, have you, contacted the village at all? I'm just wondering, because I can't, you know, something's gotta be done with that, obviously, to make it, and turn it into usable driving. You can't drive on it the way it is now, it's not,
Well,
it's,
probably during the course of construction and all that,
Right.
probably will make all that.
I'm just wondering if the village has to, if you got some kind of, do they need to give permission to that? or that's- Okay, that's what, because it, you know, you're talking improving an alley, that doesn't, it's,
I get it.
right? Do we need someone's permission to do that, or that we can just,
I mean, they just did it, the Village Kennelly approved it next to the medical office building, just got put up.
right, is there an
Private
alley
person
right
just
there
repaired
too?
that entire alley.
Okay, that's my thing,
But-
does that become just part of his responsibility,
Not
or is
really.
that?
It's the
That's
village's
what,
alley.
that's, right, okay,
The Village has a due care agreement to care for all the roads and right-of-ways that it controls.
So you're saying the overgrown part of the alley, the village would be responsible for that?
Well, the vegetation shouldn't be growing through the street.
it is.
Well, that's
It-
an issue.
it
It's-
ends
The village has a due care
here.
agreement to care for all of its right-of-ways. If they don't wanna have the due care agreement, they should vacate them.
Right, it's that whole section over here on his side, I think the
Here,
other
this is
side
road.
is still partially paved, some of it over there is behind it, around that dumpster, and then it just kinda ends, and all this is, it's all over.
Yeah, there's about a,
Trees,
there's about a 3-foot section where the parking lot stops,
Right.
and like, basically like the width of the dumpster, and then there's like a 20-foot section that's about, is wide enough for a car or truck.
right, and the rest of it's all
Because when the
overgrown.
utility companies, when they came in, they trimmed all the trees for the power lines and everything there. I mean, their trucks, I mean, they fit back there, but barely.
Right, it is, it's all trees.
It's not to say that a private owner can improve something so that they can have beneficial use of the property, but it is the village's
Okay.
concern.
So we've established that the dumpster is not the applicant's problem,
Okay.
really. And do we have any confirmation that lighting standards will be met?
Yes, we
Yes,
provided a lighting
Plan,
plan.
Oh, okay, okay.
Then can I ask, because I know I'm still concerned about it only being 10 feet to the lot line on that west property line, which would be, typically be a side yard, but I know in your, because you had to turn the building, that it's, becomes the backyard or the rear yard. My concern is that it's awfully close to that. That building at 359 Spring Street, I did a little digging into that, and it looks like there's approximately 12 feet to the lot line from that building that's there. And there's windows on that side, which I'm assuming they would be the bedroom windows, because I think that's what they look like. Would face that, with having that building with those rear patios, I just think about future tenants. They're outside, we're cooking outside, we're doing all that, but we're now 10 feet from the lot line. I'm having company over outside in my patio area, but I'm right next to the bedroom windows of the next. I mean, I'm just concerned that you're asking tenants that are living there now to have 4 units where that's where people are using that as their access in and out to the back area where they're gonna store their garbage cans and their bicycles and anything else that might be sitting outside. So
Karen,
there's,
that variance was approved
That variance was approved, so
by
that
the
is.
ZBA.
That's approved by the ZBA, so that is a setback that has a variance.
Right.
So, yeah.
and there's no way to turn that entire building 180 degrees, so that way the front doors are facing the other yard.
With the variance, it meets the village code, and it's a permitted use. If it were special land use, you could ask for conditions to maybe alter the appearance, but as a permitted use, you can't impose any conditions on it.
Okay. What about, is there any plans to put up privacy fence at all along that line to separate those two, or, I guess, no. Okay.
You want a privacy fence?
No, I'm not, I'm just putting out
Karen, is there any
suggestions.
requirement for buffering between residential like this?
No.
Or is it just commercial
And I
or
don't
residential?
think there is, I
It's-
think it can
it's,
just,
residential against commercial, industrial, or
I mean, that's what's required,
it's not required, but I'm just trying to come up with ideas of, I just always think of the people that have to live around this building, and we understand that it's a lot, and yes, you have, you can build on that, but I just wanna make sure it doesn't, those tenants that live on Spring Street at that 359, they're the front and the back, cause they have both units in the front and the back, and then they're right there, I mean, that's so close. I just think about this, I mean, it could be, cause it's backyards now, that's all, that's my concern.
they've, yeah, Mr. Chairman, they've required all their variances. We're looking at a site plan which apparently now meets all of the standards which the zoning board of appeals said they would grant. The planners said, I drove down there today myself and I thought it was a horrifyingly bad idea, but it meets all of the possible restrictions that the village can put on it.
Correct, this is a problem with the village and the village ordinances.
Right, so I don't see that we have any choice except to move this thing on, and therefore I'd make a motion that we approve it.
I'll second that.
And you did say in your review that they did provide lighting,
They did, yes.
so for the rear or the side, whatever we're calling it, that's.
Their lighting plan will not, their lighting is not gonna be encroaching on adjacent properties.
Okay, we have a motion before us to approve the site plan for 153 Spring Street. All in favor?
Aye.
I think it should,
This should be.
You want to do a roll call again?
I'm
Sure.
sorry.
That's fine.
Bill Parker,
yes.
Mr. Stegner,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Minton,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Grandstaff,
Yes.
Justin Parker,
Yes.
Motion carries.
Two
Oh,
more.
sorry, yes, sorry.
Stegner, yes, and I'm a yes. Janice,
No,
no? Motion carries.
I already jumped in there. Okay.
right,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Okay, item 5, site plan review, 250 Denby Street. Ms. Magar. I do not have.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, make sure you leave,
Leave when you can.
leave quick.
It's a joke. Sounded like a threat.
Yeah.
So at 250 Denby Street, the applicant had previously submitted a site plan for a 6-unit apartment complex, which was approved last summer. The applicant has now submitted an amended site plan, which contains a second story and is now a proposed 12-unit apartment complex. All units are 2-bedroom units, where the previous approval was for one one-bedroom unit and 5 2-bedroom units. All the proposed first-floor units all the proposed, second-floor units are within the existing building footprint. The proposed second-story, let me go back. All the proposed first-floor units are within the existing building footprint. The proposed second-story units will be newly constructed story, which includes balconies. Parking is proposed both at the north and south ends of the property. Section 46-613 requires 1-bedroom units to be provided with 1 parking space and 2-bedroom units to be provided with 2.5 parking spaces. The applicant has provided 31 parking spaces, exceeding the minimum standards. The applicant is proposing a two-tiered parking, 90-degree parking layout with a 20-foot driving aisle at the south end and a 22-foot driving aisle at the north end. 2 barrier-free parking spaces measured 8 feet by 20 feet with a 5-foot by 20-foot access area has been provided. All their parking spaces measure 9 feet by 20 feet. This meets the standard of 46-614. All parking areas maintain a 10-foot setback with neighboring residential properties. The applicant has confirmed that the setback has been met for both parking lots. The applicant has provided a landscaping plan displaying the planting of 5 new trees and a variety of shrubs and ornamental grasses. A trash receptacle enclosure has been provided at the northeast corner of the parking lot. The applicant has stated that it will be surrounded by a three-sided masonry enclosure. This enclosure will measure 10 by 10 and will be constructed of a 6-foot-high masonry wall. The applicant will continue to use the approved lighting plan for the building and the original parking area. I believe a updated lighting plan has been provided to the Plan Commission tonight to address the newly proposed parking area, which was my area of concern. And then upon the applicant being able to confirm that the outstanding lighting concern is met, I do recommend approval of this site plan.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
You cut down the big tree?
The other one.
Right on the south line.
Can I cut it down? I suppose, but.
I'm just asking.
Do we want to cut it down?
I'm just asking because it's going up, right? You're gonna put a second floor on it. Oh, that thing's enormous. I'm just wondering because it's right on the building, isn't it? I'm just wondering if it's surviving.
No, it's probably about,
Is it good?
about 10 feet.
I didn't want to walk that side of the building.
I know what you're talking about, but it's not
Okay.
pushing it over or anything like that.
No, I'm just wondering.
I'm split, because I kind of like to get it out of there, because it's dirty as heck, because of the weeds and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, it takes 100 years for that tree to come there, I hate to cut it down, I mean, I don't have 100 years to see another one.
It's
So,
big.
Yeah,
I just didn't know.
Whatever you guys want, I'll do it, yeah.
There's a really big tree right there. That was my only question.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Karen, you reviewed the lighting plan that we just got tonight, that obviously we don't have time to review. You looked up the lighting and verified everything meets
Correct.
standards, okay.
I just, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Would like to comment and say that this, I actually like this better than the previous, the single story. I just want to say, I just. No, just looking at, because I pulled out the other, from last year, that the original blueprints that were submitted with the plans, and I just think aesthetically, will just fit, it'll fit better into that, than the previous one.
Concur 100%.
Right, and,
The other one was not bad, to be honest with you. This,
right,
of course, I'm a little partial, but. yeah,
right, no,
agree.
I think, and then it does look very similar to the other one that's on Denby Street, that 199, because we drove by that one too, and I go, okay. I can see it, because they're right there in that same area, and it'll look very similar to the same. I just think that'll fit in better, so thank you for,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan at 250 Denby Street as presented.
Second.
Who seconded over there? Mr. Parker? Okay, the motion before us is to approve the site plan at 250 Denby Street. We want to do a roll call again?
Sure.
Okay.
Justin Parker?
Yes.
Bill Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Minton?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Hale?
Yes.
Grandstaff?
Yes.
Fowler?
yes.
Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Stegner?
Yes,
Motion carries.
motion carries. Okay. Item number 7 in our new business.
Thanks, sir, for a minute.
Sign ordinance study. Okay. I don't know where this came from. Anyone have any comments they'd like to share?
Is this, yes,
Go ahead.
is this in, after the ZBA with the, that's why we're, yeah, there is, I think at the last ZBA meeting, they approved, it was for L&L products, the sign.
For L&L, there was concerns about the sign ordinance, that maybe it should be reviewed and see if it could be improved.
So they wouldn't, they had to get a variance for their sign for the building. And that was, it was brought up then that maybe we need to look at the sign
Yeah, it was
ordinance.
requested that the planning commission review the sign ordinance.
My understanding, L&L wanted a fairly large sign that exceeded the allowable square footage in the current ordinance.
And I think that was, they have that large building now, that big building, and I think that was, and there's still only, because there's nothing in the ordinance that says it's not, it has nothing to do with the size of the building, it's just the, right, the size of the signs.
So for the sign ordinance in commercial and for any commercial building, basically your sign size is dictated by the square feet of your building, or it's capped at a certain amount. And had they, in theory, if they decided to meet that cap, considering the setback of that building had unique circumstances. That building, that sign would be illegible probably for most people driving by, so that's why they requested the variance. And I think the ZBA, their request is, can we improve the ordinance so that this maybe not become a future reoccurring theme? I don't know how, I understand that maybe that L&L building was a unique situation, but if the village anticipates, more requests like that, then it would be appropriate to review the sign ordinance. I have been told that some communities like Troy have recently revamped their sign ordinance, and it seems to be working well in those departments, but, this is for the request of CBA. If the planning commission just wanted to dive into the sign ordinance, considering we have a few other ordinances for juggling right now.
I mean, if this was a special circumstance, I think that kind of is the reason for the ZBA to look at it. I don't know if we need to just open up and change the ordinance just now to encompass this one circumstance, because then it's like we're doing it just to favor a certain one business or one entity.
One situation.
Yeah, one situation. I don't know if that even makes sense ethically.
When I personally, for the village, I probably get maybe about 5 signs a month that I do. A lot of signs don't get approved the first round because they're not meeting certain sizing elements, but if they are off by inches, maybe, it tends to be fairly minuscule on, how much they need to change their sign in order to meet the ordinance,
I guess the bigger issue is not even the ordinance, it's enforcement of it anyways. Because, you can drive through town and not enforced anywhere. So, I think this is, I don't know if we need to make it,
I think we got enough ordinances to tackle right now.
yeah, I don't think there's anything we need to look at right now. I agree.
Okay, so, motion to table?
If we table, it's gonna come back up next month. If we just don't do anything,
Okay,
it
let's just ignore it.
disappears.
I agree.
If it becomes more of an issue, then it can come back to us.
Okay.
All right, so, sidewalk ordinance. Comments?
I think it's another enforcement issue.
That is another enforcement issue.
See, it is an enforcement issue. Their concern is the prolonged time to provide notice to someone who hasn't cleared their driveway, cleared their sidewalk if it's snowed. I'd say the village does have a very long snow removal ordinance compared to a lot of other communities. At the very
24
end,
hours,
maybe-
24 hours is long.
No, I just say the procedural process of notifying someone you violated this ordinance, and you have to, it basically, you have to, in the procedure, they have to send it by first class mail, you're not just putting a ticket or, just notifying someone. I guess they said that the procedure took too long to enforce.
So you're saying you gotta notify them, and then if they don't do it, then after the notification, after the 24 hours, they get notified, then they can get fined?
I believe so.
So
Or maybe
it's-
I believe that, or I think I read there might have been a second notice, or there's a lot of notifications going on.
So we just need to eliminate some of the notifications,
Right.
say you can be ticketed immediately after 24 hours
Do it the
if
Amazon way.
snow
who's-
is not clear.
And
Take
who's
it on
gonna
the door,
ticket the
take a
village,
picture with
because they
your
haven't shoveled those sidewalks out there and
Which ones?
out in front of this place,
In front of what place?
what we're sitting in.
That would be then Parks and Rec who leases the property in the building.
True. True.
But, you know, a simple ordinance, they usually give people anywhere from 12, 24 to 48 hours to clear their snow. If they, you know, if you start racking up violations, that's when the fines kick in. If you know, maybe you get a first pass, second pass, you'll get a fine, third pass, the fines increase, and so on and so forth. And so it just, there's less of a prolonged notification process.
I would agree for the
But
cemetery.
this would, I would say this is this is not part of the zoning ordinance, this is part of section 38 of the code, which is outside of the zoning ordinance, so it would be a board matter.
So this isn't even us, like at all.
Yeah, this is us.
Who tickets the village when they put the snow back on the sidewalk?
It was requested that the planning commission take a look at that.
So they just want a recommendation?
How about the fact they plow in my driveway and I had to hire someone to come out and do it, because I can't do that anymore.
That's something you can bring up at the board when you're discussing this.
Sounds like a good public comment.
It will be.
I mean, I'd be in favor of all of the male portions unless the building is deemed vacant to be skipped and stick it on the window, take a picture like Amazon does now. It's there,
No,
post.
Mr. Chairman, I can tell you that the municipality I work in, there's an orange sticker. Shovel your snow, or we're coming to shovel it, and you're getting charged for it.
Yeah, it goes in your
And it's
taxes.
24 hours, and but I mean, it's impossible for them to get to everyone that doesn't shovel their snow, too. So,
Then, who's currently enforcing this, who is the person that's currently
Police chief.
doing the enforcement? Because I know of a property where in 12 years, it's never been shoveled the sidewalk. 12 years, and I doubt that there's been tickets on that. It's, every time it snows, it never gets shoveled.
I know of a property that
Yeah.
cleans their parking area by dumping all the snow onto the sidewalk.
Uh-huh.
See, so like that, yeah. I don't think we're enforcing the
So,
other ordinances. not giving-
Yeah, how's this gonna be enforced? Is it gonna be the police or?
I think it's, the president is ultimately in charge of ordinance enforcement or her designee, or his designee, right? Which I think currently
It's the
normally
chief.
goes to the chief of police or his officers, their officers. But I think anyone in either department can handle, is my understanding.
Okay.
It's either the president or police.
Yeah, this isn't a planning or a zoning issue at all. This is village.
And we just determined, I
Ordinance.
don't think it's anything that these
Code.
planning commission's gonna do anyways. So Karen, you feel that this is more of a board of trustees issue? I agree to flip this one and send it back to the board of trustees. No motion needed.
Okay. Item number 9, short-term rental,
It's the same.
Airbnb, Verbo.
No, this would be a part of zoning.
Would it? Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
So, or it could be.
Depending on what your angle is.
But, the village is entertaining, or exploring the possibility of adopting some sort of, short-term rental ordinance. Currently, the village does not have one. You guys also don't have just a normal, or, long-term rental ordinance, but, I provided 2 samples, one from Traverse City, one from Cook Township, about how they handle short-term rentals. Basically, if someone wants to have Airbnb or VGRO, they do have to register with the city, they have to get C of O. Your house will probably be inspected anywhere from every 2 to 3 years. A lot of cities have the requirement that if you have a short-term rental property in a community, you have to live your residents can only be so many miles away. So if an incident were to occur, you could feasibly get there in a reasonable amount of time to address it. A lot of communities you have a short-term rental, that you have at least some kind of handbook on premise saying, hey, you know, how to be a good neighbor in the vicinity. That's usually required by a lot of communities, so that if someone is, you know, accused of a, you know, noise nuisance or something like that, they can say, you know, this is maybe open to you, you should have been aware. So, that is
I know our residential, we have long-term rentals, we have potential bed and breakfast. When you get into the Airbnb, the other issue that I've seen or heard in other communities, is that it's becoming more of a commercial, property that's embedded in a residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it's not someone moving in for a year, 2 years. It's a staple that's here permanently, that takes pride in where they're at, hopefully. It's someone that's there for a night or two and, hey, let's party it up and go to this wedding and peace out, and who cares? So that's the issue I see with these,
I think this is a horrible idea
to allow them.
to allow this, yep.
So then we need an ordinance, yeah.
Madam-
Yeah, you can't
Mr.
have
Chair.
it, right?
Yes.
No, you can't.
So Ms. Karen spoke about rental inspections for these properties. I know that it went in front of the board 2 years ago to inspect all rental properties.
More than 2 years, yeah.
More, 3, it
Give or
died.
take 2.5, 3 years, yeah.
It's
That
actually
died.
gone on for close to 30 years and no one's ever inspected, period.
Right.
I'll tell you
Well,
that
it's not even-
flat
it's not
out,
an
having
ordinance.
been a landlord for the last 40-some odd years in town.
Yeah, it's never been a thing.
Not
right?
once.
Yeah, we've never had anything in place to do inspections, but I think as a property owner that rents, you have to meet standards, right? Is my understanding.
No one
there's
enforces,
codes.
no, what you're talking about is just pure contempt. Nobody enforces anything.
Mhm.
So the more we talk about it, the more contemptuous it gets.
Yeah.
It isn't, this discussion's gone on since the 1970s, and nothing has ever happened, period.
Yeah, there was talks about having,
I do know of one
2-3
building
year
inspector who
fees.
resigned when he was told that he had to go inspect the apartments in downtown, and he said, I can't say it here,
Yeah.
and resigned. That was it. So we can talk about it, but no one's gonna enforce it.
Right.
well, that's the rental inspections.
Right.
Yeah, as far as allowing short-term rentals, what is your thoughts on that, Bill?
I think I understand the theory behind opposing it, but we really aren't living in a community where this is actually, this isn't Traverse City, this isn't a lakefront resort community. I just don't see any reason for the discussion, period.
Understand, and then also, at one point, Romeo wasn't a place that probably had 2 RVs on different streets throughout the community, and it has evolved. And there is coming a need now to talk about off-street parking of recreational
Right.
vehicles.
You live in
So-
what was
I understand, so now we're at a point where this is something that's starting to happen. Do we not look at it, maybe it's not a huge issue now, but what about in 5, 10 years? Do we look at putting something together now to protect the village moving forward for what's coming? That's part of planning, it's not just today, it's the future.
What, to me, what is the purpose of registering them? So that they're on a list? For what purpose? If you're not gonna inspect them, what's the point of the list?
who's gonna keep the list?
Correct.
We can't get the clerk to give us an approval
I didn't
after
vote.
4.5 months of a,
Can I speak on this? Having worked in building departments.
Karen,
before-
if you don't mind,
sorry.
thank you.
It would, so how it would, a rental would normally be kept tracked is through a permitting system that a lot of communities use. The Village of Romeo uses it. Yeah, BSNA. And, you know, a certificate of occupancy inspection would be no different than what it would be for new construction, except under the circumstance that it is an existing building. So whatever building codes apply to, you know, might grant exceptions to, they can. But, you know, So there is a way, there's a manageable way to keep track of it. Does the village have the staff or the manpower to do all these inspections? You know, I can't speak on that. That's up to the village to make that determination, or if they don't, if they want to hire, they can do code, you know, additional code enforcement. But there is a manageable way to keep track of these, and it would probably be more so done by the building department, I imagine. Some communities also, if you also have a, you know, a landlord business license, so I imagine if you have a short-term rental, you're doing this C of O for your building, but maybe annually you have to say, yes, I'm still holding this Airbnb here, so you have a landlord business license. You know, in theory, if a rental starts to become out of hand, then it can be addressed, and there's more of a record for it, if that's the case, you know. I don't know how often that actually happens, but it's always a concern that communities have.
I mean, you're talking about a full fee structure, a form structure, the ground up on something that we have. Know people to do that. I mean,
Doesn't mean we don't have to do it.
I mean, once you build it into the software, into the programming,
I understand.
I would imagine that end of it isn't so time consuming. I know plenty of communities that I work in, I can pull permits online unless it's designated as a rental, then you have to go in and pull the permit. So that it's known you're doing alterations or changes to a rental property. And then a lot of them do, every 2 or 3 years, they go through and inspect.
Yeah, I'll say
Rental units.
one of the rentals I have,
You did
it
them all
took
three in
20
one.
years, but they finally caught up and now they're inspecting every 2 years.
Yeah, I mean,
it
but
took time.
Romeo's never inspected.
if you're gonna inspect these, you gotta inspect it all.
Oh, I agree. I mean, how do other communities that maybe people work in, how do they handle this?
It's every 2 years. They go through, fire marshal goes through with the building inspector every 2 years.
Yeah.
It's about safety. And we don't do that at all.
No, it is very time consuming. We do it in the community that I'm in.
Yeah.
Our ordinance does say though, right now it's every 5 years, which really needs to be reduced. But everything has to meet the property maintenance code. And the building inspector is the one who does it. If there's a fire issue, fire goes through.
Actually, I think you're getting down to talking about a money issue. And the money meaning the village is gonna have to pony up the money to hire the people to do this.
Well, then it's piggybacked on a fee structure to help pay for it, and it's.
Right.
I'm not arguing that,
Yeah.
I'm just,
When I do mine, I have to pay for the inspection. When I have mine, and then subsequently, I have to pay for the inspection fees if there's any violations. So I pay for the initial inspection, it's $100 for the guy to come out for the 10 minutes and write any violations or no violations. So that's a way to cover the cost of a person coming out. We could block it in certain times if we started it at certain times,
I mean, I'm all for doing that.
you know, and then we could just be a part-time person hired to do this for this span of time.
If it's a non-homesteaded residence, be prepared.
Yeah,
'Cause
well, that's what it is.
That's how you're gonna do it.
And then then you have so long to correct it, and I had to go to the court and get everything corrected through the court system, and it ended up costing $1,000 in the end to get everything, minus a few violations I had to get taken care of. But it cost a little bit of money, but I paid all the fees all along.
Right.
So it's something we have to probably do.
So back to the short-term rentals. This is,
This would follow the same structure with the short-term rental.
yeah, as far as the inspection
As
process.
far as the inspection,
Do we even want to allow them, one? Do you want that turnover? Potentially every weekend, every other day, allowed in the residential communities? Or do you allow them just in certain zones, certain, maybe in the office district or the mixed use or wherever that may be, but not in the R1 or residential.
I would think it needs to stay out of the R1. It could be in the office, because this brings us back to that one place that wanted to be a special event center, and then the houses next to them, and so on and so forth. What stops Main Street from becoming a VRBO, which is not what I think the village wants.
But that's the south side, South Main Street is all basically
Office, right.
office.
But I'm talking, if it's in the residential, the north side of Main Street, be prepared to turn that into,
Past Church Street, yeah.
turn that into VRBOs for
Parades.
events that happen, church events and stuff.
Mhm.
Gee, you mean there's an illegal event center in town?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
There's two of them, isn't there?
So are we gonna proceed with something like this? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, what do you guys wanna do here? Do you wanna proceed or
We gonna
look at
add
this
another one?
later, or?
Do we want to ask Karen to draft something with Romeo's concerns? Or the planning commission with where it's gonna happen? I think the board is pretty unanimous about it not being in the residential
Yeah.
zoned.
I'll have to double check that. I know there has been some state legislation going back and forth about these, and
Is it
I'll have to
allowed?
double check and see. I believe I have read at some points that you could not restrict it from residential zones, but I'll have to double check.
So it's an all or none.
It-
type of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Either restrict it completely,
We're gonna do it in my
and if
township.
you don't do anything,
Yeah,
then
but
it-
I'll have to double check, because I
I
think
don't think you
things
can
had changed in the
restrict it
fall.
completely.
Can you restrict it at all? Is that-
I haven't been.
I'll have to double check. There was a bunch of bills were passed back and forth last year, and I lost a little bit of track, so I'll have to.
It's been
right, let's
a
make sure we
debated
legally do it
object. I see it coming through in the realtor things, and I just ignore it because I just choose
Yeah.
to ignore it.
So I'll make a motion to table this short-term rental until, what are we at, March, till May's meeting, giving Karen time to review and
Or
propose
April?
some
Do you want
language.
April or May?
No, I'm gonna say May.
Okay.
We give you some time.
It's gonna be May.
You got a lot on your plate.
Okay.
Anybody would like to second that?
I would.
Mr. Hale seconds. All right, the motion before us is to table this until Ms. LeVar has,
Till the month of May.
till the month of May, giving her enough time to, take a look at this. All right, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
No, we got this on.
That's right, never mind. I withdraw that motion.
So what do we have next?
That's
Information.
information
Oh,
only.
Transit management, I see.
Oh, hand it to him. It's that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I go.
Looks like good information.
So
May
we're gonna ask
15th or
the cards.
29th. Do we have to choose a date on this? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that's what we
Okay.
gotta do.
I didn't know if you were given the information,
I was given the same packet you were, and,
no other information.
well, I mean, I got paperwork to write on, but, yeah, it's kinda, I think it's pick a date.
So we got May 15th or May 29th. Is there any conflicts from anyone? Both Wednesdays.
I won't be here.
May 15th is Mother's Day, after Mother's Day.
And May 29th is after.
It's 2 days after
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Right.
I would say May 15th would work best. Anyone
I agree.
opposed May 15th?
I agree.
Sorry, Jim, I'm kinda taking your thunder here.
That's all right.
Moving this
No,
on.
that's fine.
If there's no objections to May
Anybody?
15th?
Yeah, okay. 15th or 29th, or nothing at all.
15th looks great.
I won't be here on the 29th.
Do the auctioneer thing.
Okay, 15th. All in favor of the 15th for this informational thing? Say aye.
Aye.
All right, it's the 15th. Okay,
I'll
now,
make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
okay, motion before us is to adjourn.
Damn, I was